What is Hamas, and what's happening in Israel and Gaza? A really simple guide. What is Hamas and what does it want? Hamas is a Palestinian militant group that has ruled the Gaza Strip since 2007. It seeks to replace Israel with an Islamic state and has fought several wars with Israel. Hamas has fired thousands of rockets at Israel and carried out deadly attacks. In response, Israel has launched airstrikes and sent troops into Gaza. Hamas has been designated a terrorist group by Israel, the United States, the European Union, and the UK. Iran supports Hamas with funding, weapons, and training. What is happening in the Gaza Strip? Hamas launched an unprecedented attack on Israel, resulting in retaliatory airstrikes and a ground offensive. Israel has ordered everyone in the north of the Gaza Strip to relocate to the south, but the UN and Gaza's health authorities say it is impossible to evacuate vulnerable hospital patients. Hamas has told civilians to ignore the evacuation order. Many people have been leaving, and women and young children were killed while fleeing. Northern Gaza is densely populated, with limited roads and fuel shortages. Hamas continues to fire rockets into Israel. How could Israel carry out a ground offensive? Israel's goal is to destroy Hamas and has massed tens of thousands of soldiers, tanks, and artillery on its borders with Gaza. It has dropped thousands of bombs on Gaza, targeting Hamas commanders and their control centers. Israel aims to destroy Hamas's vast network of underground tunnels, which stretch for hundreds of kilometers. Close quarters fighting in densely populated urban areas poses a major challenge for Israel. What is the Gaza Strip and why is it important? The Gaza Strip is a territory located between Israel, Egypt, and the Mediterranean Sea. It is home to about 2.2 million people and has one of the highest population densities in the world. The majority of Gaza's population are registered refugees, and many live in crowded camps. Israel controls the airspace and shoreline of Gaza and strictly controls the movement of people and goods through its border crossings. Egypt also controls its border with Gaza. What is the Siege of Gaza? After Hamas's attack, Israel announced a Siege of Gaza, cutting off supplies of electricity, fuel, food, goods, and water. Maine's electricity has gone out, and Gaza's water and sewage systems are expected to shut down. Households, hospitals, and businesses are relying on generators if they have fuel. The border between Israel and Gaza remains closed, and the Rafah crossing controlled by Egypt has been targeted by Israeli airstrikes and heavily restricted. Why did Hamas launch its latest attack? The attack came at a time of soaring Israeli-Palestinian tensions. This year has been the deadliest on record for Palestinians in the Israeli-occupied West Bank, which could have motivated Hamas. They may have sought a propaganda victory and to pressure Israel to release Palestinian prisoners. There is speculation that Iran, Hamas's supporter, orchestrated the attack to thwart a peace deal between Israel and Saudi Arabia. How does this compare to previous Hamas attacks? This is the most ambitious operation Hamas has launched from Gaza and the most serious cross-border attack Israel has faced in a generation. Militants breached the border wire in multiple places, resulting in casualties, including babies. The attack was not foreseen by Israeli intelligence, despite extensive resources and surveillance measures in place. Why wasn't the attack foreseen by Israeli intelligence? With the combined resources of the Shin Bet, Mossad, and the Israel Defense Forces, it's astounding that nobody saw this coming. Israel has the most extensive and well-funded intelligence services in the Middle East, with informants and agents in militant groups. The border fence between Gaza and Israel was supposed to be a smart barrier to prevent infiltration. But Hamas militants found ways to bypass the fence, bulldozing through it, cutting holes in the wire, or entering from the sea and by paraglider. It is astounding that nobody saw this coming or failed to act on it if they did have a warning, said the BBC security correspondent Frank Gardner. The conflict between Israel and Hamas in Gaza continues to escalate, with devastating consequences for the people living in the region. The situation remains complex and volatile, with no immediate resolution in sight.
Palestinian militants in Gaza have carried out an assault unprecedented in its scale in recent years. We're going to look at some of the footage that we've been able to verify to see how the story unfolded. Now, it started in the early hours of Saturday morning with a huge barrage of rockets being fired out of Gaza into Israel. This footage is from a party in the desert that was taking place in the south of Israel, and you can see people running in panic. Militants have managed to infiltrate Israel, capture a tank, and carry out strikes along that border on the Israeli side. Some of that incursion was pretty sophisticated. This is drone footage from the Hamas military wing, which shows a strike on an unmanned Israeli machine gun post. Hamas in Gaza say more than 50 hostages have been taken. The Israeli military has confirmed soldiers and civilians have been seized. An Israeli woman being dragged out the back of a jeep by her hair and bundled back in. She looks to have been badly beaten, her hands tied behind her back. Predictably, the Israeli response has been severe. We've seen them carry out airstrikes across the territory, including this one, where they took down an 11-story building. They said that some of that building was being occupied by Hamas radio.
Here is the family, they're gathering all together, also in a place far away from here. I was trying to explain things, but I think you can hear them now. We're inside the house right now, and literally we can't breathe. That's the view from the window, and I can't keep it open. We found really close to my house. That's my window right now. That's the view. I thought my building was safe, but there is nothing safe. I obviously expected that there would be a response, but honestly, that intense, no one expected that. We're all gathering at our neighbor's house, no internet, no electricity until now. It's around 7 p.m. We literally don't know what's happening in the world. Here we're just listening to bombs. So we're like all standing in the street. Evacuate, go where? Like, evacuate, go where? The situation is crazy. Literally no place is safe. Me personally, I've evacuated 3 times since yesterday. Like, okay, they tell you to evacuate. You go to a friend's house. When they call you to evacuate, you go to another friend's house. Like, the situation is just terrible.